All right. And we're live. Thank you guys all so much for stopping by. Today, we're going to be talking about Pokemon. And I mean, let's be honest here, guys. If you've been watching the prices, they just keep going up, man. And we got to discuss it today. But before we jump into it, as always, make sure you leave a like, comment down below, subscribe to the YouTube channel. It helps support the channel, gets the videos going. And then as for Alex, make sure if you want to check him out, links down in the description below, check out his breaks. And then lastly, I mean, I guess I'll still say it because there's technically one spot left. But if you want to join the program, I would do so now. But other than that, I'll probably I'll probably not be saying anything else once it's closed. I'll probably keep letting people know just in case the spot ever opens back up once it's sold out again. But yeah, Alex, where do you want to kind of take it from here?
I mean, we can just kind of build on that right there. Like, just think about that. Like, your program, which what does it cost per month?
$130.
$130, guys.
Yeah.
Meaning there are 200 people about in just one program that are all making more than $130 a month.
Well, not all of them are paying $130, but obviously,
let's just say most. They're all exponentially making more than what they're paying in this hobby right now. There's that much opportunity. I see people every day that reach out that like post things. There are so many people successful, running side businesses, making side income, seeing, their collections rise in value. Like there's so much success right now, and it almost just builds on each other because other people see the success. They want to do it themselves. They get in the hobby's still doing great. So they see success, and it's like this big, kind of like the thumbnail. It's just this moving bullet train that nothing can stop. Superman can't stop it. All these, crazy news stories and, crazy wars going on throughout the world. Nothing can stop this, right? Presidential election didn't stop it. And I just think we're in a time where this is much different than COVID. This doesn't feel inorganic to me. This just seems like it's people finally realizing that this is here to stay and it's not going anywhere.
Sorry, people. Apparently people like
what? That was a serious take. I wasn't joking here.
I'm just reading the comments. Apparently people like my 5 o'clock shadow.
Dude, that's my job. I'm the one that reads the comments. You're the one that talks.
Yeah, that is fair. No, 100%. I mean, at least within the program, right? And I'll just kind of go and say this, right? We've got one spot left. What's going to happen is after we're completely sold out, we're going to raise prices to $150. And if someone leaves the program, then that price will reopen up at $150 because ultimately, when we increased the price from $95 to $110, I mean, we sold 40 spots in like 2 days. Like, it was insane how many spots we grew to. And then we upped it to $130, and obviously we were able to sell 60 spots within 2 weeks. So it's like, even at $130, the demand is super high. And to be fair, like, the value's there, right? It's not really like a matter of, is it something that I can make my money's worth, because we have a high retention rate in the program, which is why it's constantly sold out. Because usually when people leave, it's only like 1 to 2 people at most a month. So it's like you're seeing people continuously extract value even after things continue to rise. And that's predominantly because, as we've learned in this market, when certain things will start to rise in price, people will go for the next best option. Booster boxes get too expensive, people go to sleeved. Sleeve get too expensive, people go to loose packs, and so on and so forth. Which, this is actually something I was talking to someone about the other day. This is actually an interesting point, because if you look at what's going on right now with like Sea and Sky boxes, they're still available for you to order off or online if you have an account with Sam's Club. And now they've limited it, yes, but if you look at the price per pack that you're paying compared to what the market price is, it's quite interesting to see how cheap it is for the price per pack that you're able to buy it for compared to the market price, which is pushing almost $5 for Crown Zenith. So it's an opportunity that you can still take advantage of right now. It's not just one of these things where it's like, sure, you'd prefer to have Crown Zenith ETBs, but it's like, guys, if you want to go buy that box and either keep it sealed or break down the packs, like, there's money still to be made within this market that's just staring you right in the face.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Is like, I feel like people feel like if they know about something or if they had access to something, that everyone knows about it, right? But it's not the case, right? I mean, you going and buying those Sea and Sky boxes and breaking them down, having those packs at whatever dollar cost you have them at, there are people willing out there to pay much more for those packs. And I'm not talking about like what I do with rip and ships or whatever. I'm talking about just on the open market. Flip on the open market. I know myself. I buy from people. Like I literally buy from people who go out and buy the Sea and Sky boxes when they drop, and they sell to me at a premium, whatever that premium is, even if it's 50 cents times hundreds and hundreds of packs, it adds up. And so there's so many of those opportunities out there where, you know, just because you know about a certain site or a certain sale or a certain like deal going on or some bulk thing and you took advantage of it, you need to get out of your mind that everyone in the whole hobby knows about it, or, you know, no one in the whole hobby is willing to pay more than you did. Like, there's just opportunities everywhere, and the people taking advantage of them, more power to them. And I know it kind of treads on that line of like, am I a scalper or am I just like a legitimate business? Is this right? Is this wrong? I mean, that's up for everyone to decide for themselves. But I'm just happy to see people enjoying the hobby, you know, having extra money to spend, building their collections, and using, you know, things like that to do it for either free or at least lower cost bases.
Yeah. I mean, one thing we talked about a lot, you know, where you're able to find opportunities is we had some plays that you were able to make through distribution a while ago where you could pick up Paradox Rift, build and battle stadiums. And you might say, like, who cares about Paradox Rift, let alone the stadiums? Well, in each one of them, you had about a 50% chance of getting one of the, how am I forgetting what the name of the earn card is? But there's this one competitive card for some reason that's escaping me.
Oh, the Earthen Vessel?
Thank you, Earthen Vessel. Yeah, it goes for like $3. I think at the time it was going for $5. And so you had a 50% chance of like each bundle that you got from the stadium, which there's 2 of them in each one. So you basically, you know, had a 50% chance to get your money back on like at least 1 or 2 packs worth of what you paid because they were included in some of the build and battles. So it's like, you do the math after you sell those cards, all of a sudden the price per pack, not only is it already discounted at distribution, but then it's also as well discounted cheaper when you have these other items that you can offset the price. I mean, this sounds crazy. I remember back when the trainer toolkits first came out for 2023, and they were the Arceus V-Star ones that they came out with. And I bought so many of them because the Arceus V-Star promo was going for like at the time, like $10 to $14 because it was one of the most like competitive cards in the game. And then the standard one was going for like $3 to $4. And I was paying $20 per unit. So just off the promos, it was almost paying for the entire build or trainer toolkit. So it's like, it's just instances like that where sure, you might say to yourself, it's not as easy because you can't just go right in front and like pay these booster box prices, and you still can, obviously. I mean, you're taking out obvious higher risk as you get farther and farther away from, you know, wholesale pricing, but still, you know, it's not as free of attendees looking at these booster boxes as your kind of main plays. You have to look to other miscellaneous products that you're able to extract value from, but they're still there. There's still something to be able to take advantage of. And obviously, like I'd already mentioned, I think Sea and Sky boxes is kind of the easiest one at this point.
I mean, kind of newsflash, it's kind of always been that way. I mean, maybe there's like small pockets where there's like money to be made in booster boxes quickly. But really, guys, this is the hobby. I mean, booster boxes have never been a big stream of like revenue or profit. They've just been, I mean, they've always been a long-term item. They're usually one of the lowest cost per packs in the beginning. And then, you know, over time they rise in value, but it's just like, it's always been about finding plays like that where you can find singles and things that offset the cost of the packs and the pack cost is lower, finding different products that people know about with some obscure cards, you know, finding, waiting for the market to move to where some products move up, but others are left stagnant, and you capitalize on that and get in while the pack price is still low on those before they've risen. I know people did extremely well buying Evolving Skies sleeve packs and ETBs when the booster boxes took off without them. And then, you know, they kind of, you know, caught back up and people made some money, and now those are kind of more stagnant, and now the booster box is moving again. So there's always plays that open up in this hobby. I just think, you know, you have to understand like what your goals are. If your goals are like to make money, you know, relatively quickly, it's never really been booster boxes. So this market where it's very hard to attain booster boxes right now, it shouldn't really affect you.
Yeah, it definitely feels kind of flip-flop compared to how it was historically speaking. I mean, booster boxes were always the low margin item, and now all of a sudden, not to say that like out the gate they're not low margin, but the volatility of these items has allowed you to make much more money than you would historically speaking. I have an interesting question for you, Alex. In your opinion, right? We're talking about how there's plays and opportunities that people can take advantage of right now, even though booster boxes are obviously not as free tendencies as they were before. In your mind, what's a play that you think is overhyped or one that you're kind of staying away from, whether it be because you're afraid of what potential risk it could take with a potential reprint, or it's just something that you personally are like, I just don't know if it's one that I'm wanting to take at this time?
Um, Definitely these specialty sets in Sword and Shield, like Paldean Fates and 151. I mean, when the booster packs are now selling for like $8, $9 plus a pack, and all the products have risen 50 to 100+% within the last few months, that's when I start to shy away. Like, guys, you don't, there's always a time where you can kind of get on the bandwagon and ride the train up and, ride the wave if you get in early. Like, I'm fine getting in after I see it starting to pump like 10, 20, maybe 30%. But after you see these 50, 75, 100% plus gains, that's where I like to stay away. And you have to kind of just like say, hey, I missed it. Maybe you did catch some of it, you sold some early, whatever, and you just got to move on, wait for a reprint, or just move on to the next play or the next set. So definitely and also Pokemon's tendency to continue to reprint and print a ton of specialty sets. So I would say Paldean Fates 151 are the two that I'm pretty hesitant on right now.
Yeah, I definitely can understand that. Here's an interesting one.
I mean, you cleaned up on Paldean Fates.
Yeah. But to be fair, with Paldean Fates, Paldean Fates is one of those ones that so far we haven't seen supply on, right? And we know historically, like you were just saying, they love to add more to the market. And with 151, it got its initial wave, and then several months later, more got dumped onto the market. So we've obviously now seen prices go up since then, and we're going to get our Blooming Waters boxes. But Paldean, it's like the only thing we've seen more of is the booster bundles, which I was able to take advantage of when they were able to print a decent amount of those. But right now it's like ETBs. That'll definitely be interesting to watch, because right now, like if they do a reprint for it, yeah, I'm a little bit more hesitant on that set, because it's not that I think it's necessarily a bad set. Like, it's a solid set, but I don't see it as being as strong as 151 in the same way, where if 151 ETB's got a reprint, I feel confident in being able to pick up a good amount of them. Maybe I'm crazy for saying that, but when I kind of discussed about it on my last video, where storage is obviously a huge factor for me, sitting on a bunch of ETBs that have a lot higher of a probability of getting printed, and I feel a lot less confident on the set compared to its counterpart, it makes it a really difficult kind of pick for me. So I can definitely see where you're coming from with that.
Have you been paying attention to the PC ETB drama?
Oh God. I've heard of it a little bit, but do you want to keep me caught up to speed before I misspeak?
They're all seeming to start going through to the moon. I mean,
I've heard about
hundreds of % gain. I mean, we're talking like $200 and $300 PC ETBs, and we're talking about from mainline sets, not even 151, like Obsidian Flames, Paldea Evolved, and it's starting to spread more. And so, a lot of people are calling it like the best investment of Scarlet Violet era, and honestly, it is right now, right? The issue I have, right? It's such a new play because we just got these stamp promo cards and we've had PC ETBs since mid Sword and Shield era, but the stamp promos are definitely a huge switch, and that's why we've seen this huge run. But the only thing I'm afraid of is the same thing that happens with a lot of the Black and White, XY, and Sun and Moon ETBs, is when they get to certain price points, they become a very one-dimensional play in the fact that they'll never be opened, right? There's no reason to ever open these things unless you could claim the grading play is just that good and it's that much worth it to open it and try to get a 10. But really, they're just going to be sealed forever. And so they're just strictly collector's play. Where with booster boxes, they're always going to get opened at some point. Like, people are always going to use it to do a big pack break, and the price per pack, at some form or another, it's always going to sort of make sense to open a booster box at some point, right? Once the single packs start getting too expensive, people will say, okay, I'm back to ripping boxes. Then boxes will get scarce again, run up in price. People will go back to loose packs and other products. But with the ETBs and PC ETBs, they're never really going to get to the point after a certain price point where they're ever going to make sense to be opened. And so it's going to limit your market and also just the liquidity going forward. Because paying that much, $200, $300, $400 for 9 packs or 11 packs, I don't know. It starts to cause people to be a little more hesitant, right?
It's hard for me to say, because if you go back and watch the inception of my channel, like go back and look at my earlier videos. I made a video. It was actually my most viewed video. That was me saying my favorite picks at the end of the year. I think it was going into 2023, if I'm correct. It was 2022 or 2023. I can't remember. But it was one of my more viewed videos. And one of the top things that I picked as an investment was Pokemon Center ETBs. Because for me, it was one of those items where I was like, yeah, we can speculate and say, like, we don't know how many is readily out there and available. And yes, we don't know how much the Pokemon company is going to print. But at least in my mind, what made sense was they're only coming from the Pokemon Center website. That's just where they're coming from. And you're not having the same level, in my, educated guess, level of distribution, since it's all coming from one location. Like Pokemon's sole goal is not to obviously sell most of their product and cut out middlemen when it comes to Pokemon Center. Like, obviously they're always going to have product available for people to purchase, but they're mainly relying on their distribution centers, whether that be big box retailers or LGSs. And so for me, it was something where I was like, hey, I think these are unique items. People like to obviously collect different variations of these ETBs because of the uniqueness of them, and whether it be a different coloring of or different design of the ETB. And now obviously, promos with the stamps add an even bigger kind of element to it. So it's kind of hard, because looking at these prices, I mean, I could have never imagined that they would obviously increase to the price they're at now currently, but also at the exact same time, it's really hard to speculate past the point of like, hey, the market is deciding what the prices of these. Realistically, it's hard for me to disagree with the market, because we just don't really know much about kind of the general inventory of this item, along with how Pokemon intends to distribute it.
I mean, here's the thing. Like, anyone that's trying to like make any definitive statements on this, they're honestly idiots. They're just uneducated. Like, you literally can't compare them to Sword and Shield era. They're not the same. The stamp promo has changed everything.
No, they're completely different now with
and
the
two,
stamp promos.
You cannot look at something that literally is a year and a half old. Scarlet Violet base set is a year and a half old. We have a year and a half of this product to have data on. And so there's no way to predict the future demand. There's no way to predict the liquidity when these boxes are $200, $300 and, 5 years from now, how many people are actually going to want them, how hard they are to move. And the other problem with them is it's great for kind of like newer collectors or newer investors if they're just trying to grab like a case or a couple cases. But like, I was just doing the math, right? If you wanted to actually have a good size position in these, okay, $10,000, okay? If you put $10,000 divided by $60, which is the price, that's 166 of these things. Guys, you know how hard it is to order 166 from Pokemon Center? You have to have multiple accounts, multiple addresses, multiple credit cards. Like, they're going to cut you off after a while. It's so hard to obtain large amounts of these because how Pokemon wants to kind of limit them to 4 a person or whatever. And so, I mean, 166 divided by 4, that's like 41 cases. Now, I know people have gotten that many cases, but it's not easy. It's not cut and dry as putting like 10 grand into booster box cases. Very easy, very attainable, very liquid. We've seen years and years track records of booster boxes being liquid. Those are the things that kind of like, I have PC ETBs as a part of my investment, but they're nowhere near a large part because of all those unanswered questions for me and the liquidity issues and the sourcing issues.
The two biggest ETBs I talked about the most on my channel, Crown Zenith celebrations. I don't think it takes a rocket scientist to look at that now and say hindsight, yeah, that made sense.
Yeah, I'm much more of a fan of the specialty ones than I guess the ones with the big promos. Like, it's if you can get them at retail, go for it. But like, if you're trying to buy in at like 250, 300, guys, I'm not saying they can't keep going. I just think a large majority of that move has already happened, and your risk is so high because, again, not trying to be a downer, there will come a time when this market slows down, and those could be some of the items that see some decreases.
So I'm going to give you an item. And I want to get your opinion on it because it's one I feel like is brought up a lot in the chat when it comes to undervalued, right? We've obviously been talking about so far in this stream, things we think are overvalued that you might not, or I shouldn't say overvalued, but riskier than worth the investment. And we've obviously talked about items outside of booster boxes that you can take advantage of. Now, let's direct booster box. Do you think Battle Styles is worth the pickup at its current price point of around, I'm seeing lowest listed at 135 because it seems to be, at least so far, a fan favorite in the chat for a lot of people to bring up when comparing it to the rest of the Sword and Shield era?
I really don't know, man. I like the idea that it's cheaper and a lower entry point. I like the idea that your risk is so freaking low at this point, but I'm not sure it's still even going to be the best investment. Like, we're seeing, I don't know. It seems like before things would leveled out a little more than they do now. It seems now that we're kind of getting to more extremes. We're having the extreme hatred and the extreme love. And the extreme love is carrying products to heights we used to not see for years and years, and it's happening extremely fast. And then the ones people don't like, they're just kind of leaving and they don't give a crap about. And so I think there's opportunity there, but I also think there will probably be other boxes that cost 135 that in a year, 2 years, 3 years move better than Battle Styles.
Yeah, that's kind of the big thing. I feel like it's a numbers game percentage wise that you have to always consider, right? That's, I guess, where this all kind of comes from. Because if we want to compare it, which this feels like a brutal comparison because I don't think it's that bad of a set comparatively, but like Crimson Invasion right now. Crimson,
dude, hold on. Look at Jimbo Slice's comment. It's so true, man. I'd rather buy SV9 without knowing a single thing about it than Battle Styles right now. That encompasses the market that we're in. Is like, people would rather throw $130 blindly at a new product in Scarlet Violet the way the market is than put it into Battle Styles, a set that's 4 years old and has so much less risk, because that's just kind of where the mindset is. But go ahead with what you were saying. I had to throw it out.
No, it's obviously a good point to be made, but yeah, no, I think for myself, when I look at a set like Battle Styles, comparing it to Crimson Invasion, which Crimson was obviously the worst set of Sun and Moon era, Crimson is right now going for around 350 a box, which if you look at the general pricing of most of these higher performing sets within the Sun and Moon era, they're going for around 600 to 700 plus, which means they're at about a double, return rate comparatively. Not saying that this is a 1-for-1 exact science, but not to say, like I said before, that we're comparing it to Crimson, but if we're just doing math here, based on the fact that it's at 130 and chilling is pushing, or is chilling at 300? It's probably not yet. I know
Fusion is.
What's chilling at right now? Like 240, 250, right?
Something like that.
Yeah. Considering it's close to 260, which is double the price of Battle Styles, it's not really that far off from being unreasonable of a take to say that it's a price appropriate for what the market considers the set to be. Because
let me throw another wrench in what you're saying, guys. Crimson Invasion is outperforming Unified Minds this year. Crimson Invasion is outperforming a lot of sets this year. Crimson Invasion, I'm looking at the year chart, it was just over $200, and now, like Eli said, lowest list is $330, $350. We have sales at $315.99. That is a 50 to 60% move in a year. Very few boxes have seen that, meaning it's actually a better you have the worst set in the era actually performing better this year than a lot of others.
Well, and I guess that's the hard thing to say, right? Because if we're just doing math here, right? Now, Crimson Invasion is at a point where it's at least 50% cheaper than most of these other better performing sets that are around $600+. However, Battle Styles being at 130, most of the Sword and Shield booster boxes are, technically speaking, still around the $190, $200 price point. Yes, you do have obviously your chilling, your fusion, but your astral, your silver, your vivid, your darkness, like you still have these sets, whether you love them or you hate them, that are still around the $200 price point. So for me, I would say that yes, there's an argument to be made that like it could be a good pickup right now as things continue to go up, but also at the exact same time, it's really difficult because I feel like battle styles, and maybe this is a hot take, but like I don't think battle styles is so cheap compared to the other sets that it doesn't make sense when we're comparing Crimson to the rest of the other Sun and Moon boosters. Like maybe if Battle Styles is at 100 or every other booster, I'm talking Vivid, Darkness, like Silver and so on, we're like 250 plus, then we can have that conversation. But right now, it's like, it's speculative. It's very, very speculative. And it's hard to put your faith in a set that historically hasn't performed well because you are making more or less a low risk bet because, hey, at the end of the day, it's not going to get reprinted. So at least it's an investment that you can't really lose out on, other than the fact that you could have invested in another opportunity that could have made you more money in the same time you sat on battle styles. That's your lowest risk, is the upside potential that you're missing out on.
I 100% agree. Yeah, I mean, once we see all those sets rise into the mid and high 200s, 300s, then if battle styles is still around where it's at, then I would say it's all systems go, buy as much as you can because it'll run a little bit too. But yeah, I mean, what's it gonna do, guys? Like that's what people have to ask themselves. Like, okay, you think it's gonna go up? What's it gonna go up to? Oh, it's gonna run to the high hundreds. You think it's gonna be the same price as Astral Radiance and Silver Tempest and like some of these sets and almost Brilliant Stars? Like, hell no. And so for it to get to the high hundreds, those sets have to get a lot higher. And I just don't think we're there yet. So I think we still have a little bit of a holding pattern still for battle styles.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I wouldn't be mad at you if you held on to some battle styles. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not upset at it at all. I personally think the set gets too much hate, but also my personal opinion means absolutely nothing when it comes to performance.
That's the difference too, right there, though. Like, holding it versus buying it right now. Like, if you already have it, you know, I talked about this in one of my recent videos. It's like you're having to eat exit tax when you sell these things, whether it be fees and shipping, whether you're selling on a different platform offside eBay or TCG Player and you're taking under market price, but you're paying something to get out of it. So I wouldn't sell it right now, but if you're like thinking about what do I buy, this or that, I'd probably buy the other thing right now.
Are you watching the price of Brilliant right now?
I know it broke 200. What's it at now?
It's at 225.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's moving.
I like hearing that.
I mean, it was already moving, but it's moving now.
Yeah. I mean, look, I think Brilliant Stars and that Charizard V are some of the most undervalued things in this era. I don't get it. Like, I get it to an extent, right? I understand the Charizard V is easier to hit than some of the V Max alt arts. So I understand it being a little undervalued. But at the end of the day, it's still Charizard. Brilliant Stars is one of the most stacked trainer galleries out there with the Umbreons, the Sylveons, the Mimikyus, all that good stuff. And I didn't understand why it was valued around the same price as Silver and Astral when it's so clearly a better set. Like, maybe it's not the set that some of the high flyers are, but I think it's finally being properly valued.
Yeah, it was interesting to watch because like Brilliant did have a small reprint, but Silver had a significantly greater reprint. So it is definitely weird that Brilliant kind of didn't pick back up in the same way as it should have initially, because it was a set that hit $200 twice. After its initial release, about a week after, it hit $200, and then it got a second wave, and then prices crashed. And then obviously a year later, it was able to get back to 200. Small reprint drops it down to 130. One thing I do want to say, though, that I think is a good point to mention, or to mention with this, pricing on a lot of these Sword and Shield booster boxes, I think we're seeing, because of the lack of supply right now in the market, and more specifically, you know, I've obviously talked about it a lot on stream. Typically, it's during the holiday season that we see more supply get flooded onto the market. That hasn't happened. And what do I usually say follows that? it's March time is when you start to see big moves happen for a lot of these older sets, because after a lot of these reprints and or resupplies are bought up, then you start to see an acceleration of a lot of these other items. It almost feels like, are watching in real time the market almost make predictions on what they think is going to happen through their wallets. Like, it's literally like you're watching the odds move on Vegas on a specific sports team winning or losing. And it's being done right now in real time through Sword and Shield era products, because the market is making a prediction saying, hey, these prices are going to be what they are because I don't think more products coming. So I might as well pick up these products now. And it's, in my opinion, accelerating the growth time of a lot of these Sword and Shield boxes, where you usually wouldn't see the same level of movement, in my opinion, until February, March, but it's coming early because of such a scarcity right now in the space. So I wouldn't anticipate, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if this continues until March or April time, unless all of a sudden, of course, a supply comes onto the market. But then even then, that wouldn't change things, other than, in my mind, it might prolong the inevitability of the prices for these things continuing to climb. It's just happening sooner than we might have anticipated.
I agree, man. I'm with you.
Also, we're about half an hour in. If you guys got questions, I see a lot of people are throwing questions. Please feel free to leave your question down in the chat. Make sure that you put in bold question or in all caps question, and then following with your question makes it a lot easier for us to go through and answer everyone's question. So do you want to start taking questions right now, Alex, or is there anything you want to kind of mention before we jump into it?
No, let's take them.
Cool. Yeah, because I feel like we're gonna answer more questions this time, because I feel like we never have enough time to do so. All right, we got an early one. Looking long term, as I'm not worried about the short term market, how do you guys feel about 151? Does it appeal to you guys as something such as Evolutions, or do you see it as something else?
Well, it's way better than Evolutions. Evolutions was trash for like years. I mean, like 2 years after it was released, I was able to go to the card shop and buy it for $80 a booster box, and they would tell me.
I think that's the point he's making, though, is because with Evolutions was a cornerstone set that when it first came out was going for a lot, and then they printed the ever living crap out of it so that it was easily available for people to like get. Because the thing that I would argue made Pokemon boom in 2016, because that was the last boom cycle prior to 2020, it was because of Evolutions bringing a lot of people into the market along with Pokemon Go. It brought a huge amount of Gen 1 hype. And there were so many people that I had talked to that I was like, what got you back in the Pokemon? They're like, Evolutions.
I mean, that's what got me serious back in.
Yeah. And so I think 151, I'm not comparing the sets in the aspect of like which one's better, but in the aspect of sentiment that people feel towards 151, I'm hearing the same exact thing, where a lot of people are like, what got you back into it? Now it's 151 for a lot of the newer people. So
I actually agree. I agree with that.
So maybe, and maybe I'm reading too much in this question, maybe it's more or less, do we think it's possible that the Pokemon company could turn 151 into the next Evolutions, where it does end up being one that gets printed super heavy so that it's a lot more affordable, because it is one that is such a sentimental value driver for those to get back into the space?
I don't know. I think Pokemon, I just think they're smarter now. I think they're smarter than they used to be. And I think the way they reprint now is different. And they put out these new boxes like the Sea and Sky box, or the, Blooming Waters box. Like, they do different things to release more cards and more packs on the market, so that way it quenches the demand for openers and for the cards to be cheaper. But it allows the original products like the PC ETBs, the UPCs and things to retain their value because of scarcity. And so although they'll be hurt by like the price of the cards and the packs coming down a bit, they're going to retain a lot of their value because of the exclusive promos they have and just like the sealed nature of the products being scarce. So I think it's a little different than Evolutions because it's not a mainline set, and because Pokemon switched up the way they reprint things, in my opinion.
Yeah, it will definitely be interesting to see. I mean, 151, I have a lot of confidence in. Same with Evolutions. Like, even if they, hypothetically speaking, print 151 product in the ground and it like the prices of the singles just crash, that's totally fine with me. I mean, we were looking at Crown Zenith earlier today. The Giratina is pushing. It's like if you want just standard lowest price, it's 130. If you want to pay direct, it's 150. So the price of the guillotine is moving even after the fact that Crown Zenith has been repeatedly dumped into the stratus. Like it's just dumped into the ground. So for me, it's like I see 151 and say, hey, just like Evolutions, just like Crown Zenith, if for some reason they print more of this product and prices become cheap for singles, I still look at it as a really strong long-term hold, regardless of whether it's a mainline or specialty set, because of the fact the sentiment it holds and what it did to bring people back into the space.
Hey, take the super chat from Pokey Profit.
Heck yeah. Pokey Profit, thank you so much for the super chat. We appreciate it. Merry Christmas, guys. Merry Christmas to you too. Question for both of you. Any news from Distro about 151 preprints? Seems like booster bundle poster collections have been restocking a lot this week with Canada. Also like the video.
Nope.
Alex, you want to take this one since you have the distributor?
Nah, man. I mean, there's nothing other than that new collection box coming. There's nothing coming through distribution. I mean, again, I truly think this is the new way Pokemon's going to do it. And I personally love it. I know other people may not, but I like the idea of keeping the mainline products more scarce, like booster boxes and UPCs or PC ETBs. And they're just going to reprint the crap out of the packs and put them in all kind of products or bundles and whatever else they want to print to get the product on the market. And it seems like they're going to run them through big box stores and other things like that, and less through distributors, or both. And honestly, I'm for that because Alex is delusional. Question is the 2020 again, and you will say when it crashes. Yeah, man, that's what I believe. Hey, here's the thing: if you guys think I'm wrong, if you think I'm delusional or whatever, sell. And you know what? If you're willing to sell under market, reach out to me. Sell to me. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, I would say so. At least with my 5 distros that I have, nope, haven't heard anything. And most of the time, it's one of these things where when we hear about it, it's very last second. Either we get notice for a reprint coming, or we get zero notice whatsoever, and then they just dump product. So for me right now, there hasn't been either of those things that have happened. So we're just playing the waiting game. The only thing I know of is obviously Blooming Waters. We took pre-orders for a while ago in the program. Here's a question that's interesting, and we can kind of make this not just directed at the program. Eli, I see Paldean Fates ETBs on one of our distros in the program at $620, and only product in any distro. Is this really where it has gone? And for those of you guys that are unaware of this, what happens is once product goes out of stock on distribution, a lot of times if distros have any leftovers that they've been holding on to, they'll literally sell it for like 10% less than what market is. So this is kind of what you inevitably see with product scarcity through distribution. And then of course that being pushed onto the market, because if all of a sudden there's nothing available at any distro, then the market is going to run away with the price. And then obviously if there's only one distro that has access to the product, they're just going to command the price, because why would they if they have a limited amount and they can do so by changing it obviously as close as possible or charging it as close as possible to market. The real only thing I will say obviously is this isn't the case for new set releases when it first comes out and you're doing pre-orders. This is always something after a set's been out for a while. So yeah, it's just the reality that we're kind of living in right now.
Dude, I know my distro, and I'm sure a lot of yours, they're limiting everything too.
Yeah,
like, you know,
100%.
that whole mindset of like, oh, you just gotta buy the crap product nobody wants and get your spend up. It's like, I talked to my distro. I said, hey,
they're limiting the crap product.
I go, hey, Shrouded Fable, can I buy 20 cases of that? We're limiting it to 1 case. Gotcha. Hey, Scarlet Violet base set. This was a while. This was before Scarlet Violet base set made a run. I go, Scarlet Violet base, Obsidian Flames. Can I buy like 10 to 20 cases of each of those? They go, no, we're limiting those to like, one was like a case, another one was like a few boxes, and everything you try to buy is getting limited. Like the only thing you can buy unlimited amounts of are like crappy collection boxes where there's just no value in and no one wants. But like any mainline product is all being limited. It's becoming extremely scarce. No one's got it. And that's why you see all the prices rising, is because if distros don't have it and the big stores sell out, the secondary market are the only sellers that are out there. And the secondary market sellers, they're not stores. They don't have, I don't need to make a profit. That's the thing people don't understand. Like, I don't need to make money off product. People are like, Alex, are you going to sell? You got to sell sometime. I don't. Like, I really don't. Like, I have other streams of revenue. I don't need to sell my product. I can literally sit on it for the foreseeable future as long as I want. Where stores, they need the revenue. They got to pay the bills. They got to keep the lights on, pay employees. They have to cash, buy and sell, and keep the cash flow moving. And so once all the stores and distributors are gone, the product rises very quickly because of that reason.
I think I saw Hidden Fates. They later corrected. They meant Shining Fates. Finally sold out. Are you picking some up now or not touching it with a 10-foot stick?
Hidden Fates? What do you mean sell out?
Shining. He meant Shining Fates.
Oh, Shining Fates.
He later corrected it in another message.
I did buy some, mostly for pack breaks though. I didn't buy any to sit on, but yeah, as it was starting to climb, I did buy a bunch, to have some more pack breaks. But no, I'm not like making a position in Shining Fates. I mean, I don't like the set that much.
Yeah. I mean, right now, unless I'm getting it at like wholesale price, because sometimes some distros will solicit it, but even then it's like, that's kind of it. Like, I'm not picking it up at what it's currently selling for on the market, because it's just not a set that I really am super confident in the short term. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I think the set will perform fine. It's going to move in price because it's out of stock on Pokemon Center website. It's out of rotation. So more supply is not coming for Shining Fates, but it's still a set that I'm not a huge believer of. But also, I could be wrong, because at the end of the day, Darkness Ablaze and more specifically Obsidian Flames are sets that are terrible in both of our opinions. But at the end of the day, they have a Charizard as the main chase, and the sets are going to perform well because of that. So it could be one that you might see obviously perform better. I guess my only hesitation is the difference between those two is one's an ETB versus a booster box set. And so for me, I have a lot more confidence if the set wasn't an ETB mainline specialty or an ETB specialty set.
You know what's so funny? It's like, because Sword and Shield's later half was so great, everyone deems Sword and Shield as like this goated, the greatest era. And it's so funny because a lot of Sword and Shield is the worst. Like, when you look at the Fates sets, right? It's the worst Fates. It is way worse than Hidden Fates or Paldean Fates. Not even close. When you look at like the base sets, like Scarlet Violet base, Sun and Moon base, are even Sun and Moon base is arguably a lot better than Sword and Shield base. When you look at the Charizard sets, Burning Shadows and Obsidian Flames, they're both better than Darkness Ablaze. It's just like Sword and Shield really took some time to get moving, because the early sets, they are trash compared to the other eras.
People are going to say the same thing about Scarlet and Violet. I mean, it's going to happen. I mean, right now, obviously, we've talked about how Scarlet and Violet is already, like, the first half of Scarlet and Violet is already significantly better than the first half of Sword and Shield. Because with the first half of Sword and Shield, more specifically, and when I say the first half, I mean like before they introduced alt-arts, right? You had sets that were rainbows as your main chases versus, whether you like Paradox, whether you like Temporal, whether you like Paldea, the art designs are so good compared to what you saw in Vivid, Darkness, Rebel, like the base sets. It's not even close. Base set much better than Scarlet and Violet. But because people like to compare the first half of a new generation to the last half of the previous, it's always one where people are going to have that negative sentiment until that new, exciting factor comes into play for Scarlet and Violet, that then all of a sudden changes everyone's sentiment. And the same thing is going to happen with the next generation, right? People are going to look at Scarlet and Violet. They're going to come out with the Team Rocket set and these other sets. And then people are going to say, Scarlet and Violet was such an amazing generation. It wasn't as bad as people said it was because of XYZ reasons. And then we go into the next generation, and then people are going to be like, man, this generation sucks because, and then it like this is just kind of how it goes. Like, people always make, rash decisions and jump to conclusions because that's just kind of how human nature is.
Yes and no.
What do you mean?
I don't know. I mean, I'm looking at I'm just thinking about early Sun and Moon, and I'm just like, the specialty sets were much better. Like Shining Legends is much better than.
Right, but here's the problem. You're proving my point. You're looking at it now from the now looking at it.
No, but I'm comparing early to early, not late to early.
No. But you're missing my point that I'm gonna try and get into here is hindsight. If we go back and look at comparing it, yes, I 100% agree with you. However, the problem is during that time, people looked at Sun and Moon and they were like, oh my God, Shining Legends is an awful set. Like it was being flash sold on clearance because everyone thought the test tube Mewtwo was so stupid. But now, obviously, looking back on it, we realize that it was a much better set than what people gave credit to. And so I feel like that's just the general sentiment that is always being had when it comes to history of certain sets. People always look at things with like rose lens glass. I can't remember what the term is, but you get the point that I'm making. Like they get nostalgic for the set, and they're very.
I don't think anyone's felt that way about a lot of these Scarlet Violet sets. Like no one's ever really hated 151.
Oh my God!
Paldean
Yeah,
Fates.
dude. When Scarlet and Violet first came out, there was
but like I'm saying, like the specialty sets, like no one ever hated 151. Like not many people hated Paldean Fates. Like I don't know.
I mean, Paldean Fates. That was an interesting one. Paldean Fates was definitely an interesting one. I mean, to be fair, when it comes to the specialty sets that we've had so far, right? 151 was the first one that we had. And so that one was obviously one that they started off really strong with, and it did really well. Not saying that it's a good set, because I don't think it is, but obviously there's a lot of hate for Shadow Table right now. But more specifically, you can obviously point to specific sets, and we're talking right now specifically specialty sets, but that's not what I'm trying to more or less talk about here. I'm talking about the general sentiment. That's all I'm kind of describing. You can pick certain sets that people will have liked, but ultimately the sentiment of how
everyone definitely
felt.
Hated Scarlet Violet era for sure.
Yeah. Now it's changed. Same thing happened with first half Sun and Moon. Same thing happened with first half Sword and Shield. And now all of a sudden, Sword and Shield's amazing. Sun and Moon's amazing. Scarlet and Violet, people, I wouldn't say are saying it's amazing, but they're saying it's much better than what they anticipated. But by the end of it, they're going to say it's amazing, is what my guess is to be.
Best era ever.
Done. 5 rabbits for Eli. I appreciate it, Don. Thank you so much. One of these days, man, I'm just going to have to do it. I'm just going to have to live stream me using the cookbook. I just got to do it.
Oh, what?
The cookbook? Oh, you know about that, right? I got a gift from Don. He sent me a cookbook from like Lord of the Rings.
How funny.
He sent me a Lord of the Rings cookbook.
Oh, that's so funny, man.
I gotta just live stream it at this point, just me cooking out of it.
Dude, you need some content. I mean,
yeah, right. I need something. Where is the next question that we're gonna get into here? Oh, actually, before we get into the next question, so he said Shining Fates, he said Hidden Fates, but actually meant Shining Fates. Before I saw his follow-up message, I went and clicked on Hidden Fates. Have you seen the price of the booster or the ETB?
They're cracking 200.
They're more than 200. It's 225, and that's lowest listed. If you actually look at it, the lowest listed isn't a gold star. If you go to the lowest gold star, it's 240.
Hey man, I made a video and got laughed at it earlier, like middle of this year, saying it was like one of my top investment videos of the month, and I put Hidden Fates on there, and there it is.
I mean, here's my
Told
thing.
you.
Here's my thing about Hidden Fates. Hidden Fates was one of those ones where I knew I was going to miss the boat, and I was okay with it because I had sat on Hidden Fates for so long and the price did nothing. And so it was inevitable because the set is so good. It was like, why is this set not moving? But it's like, for me, I can't just keep sitting here and like watching the price go sideways while there's so many better opportunities. When it moves, and I'll just take the L. Like, that's just kind of how I looked at the set. But it's nice to see that it's actually starting to move finally.
Honestly, I can make a whole video on that. People need to stop looking at missing an opportunity as an L. Like, you didn't lose anything, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I made much more money off of taking my money and not putting it in something that would have gone sideways for 3 months and then finally now made a move. Or sorry, not 3 months,
something
3
dropping
years,
in value
3
or
years.
getting reprinted. That's an actual L.
Yeah, no, 100%. And so, assuming money's not an issue, to buy one, sell one, hold one. Evolutions, team up, evolving skies.
Buy evolving skies and hold. Probably team up. Honestly, probably hold evolution, sell team up, just because of the price point it's at. I feel like, I don't know, evolutions though. It's just, I don't know, man. Evolutions or team up, I could go either way on those, but evolving skies would definitely be the buy.
Well, it's hard for me. I guess what is the difference between holding versus buying? Is holding like you don't want to sell it because you think it's like you don't want to miss out? Like, I guess I don't know what holding means, because in my mind, I'm buying and holding evolving skies.
Well, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, like I'm not selling evolving, but yeah, no, I would say team up. I'm for sure going to sell. Evolving, I am, buying or holding, however you want to look at it. But evolving, evolving seems so safe. It just feels, maybe I'm crazy, but it's like evolving just feels like it's just going to keep going up, and it feels like the momentum hasn't stopped.
Dude, I'm not gonna lie. Like, when I paid. So if anyone doesn't know the story, I sold out of all my evolving skies early, and then I bought back in between $350 to $400 a box. That, honestly, at that time, it felt like the easiest, safest play I've ever made. Like, I didn't feel like worried. I didn't feel risky. It was just like so obvious. And honestly, it still feels obvious. Like, I'm not saying I'm like going and putting tons of money in evolving skies, but anytime people reach out and they want to take like 85, 90% of market, I'm still buying. Like, that's how confident I am that's going to continue to rise.
Well, so it's funny. Some of my employees have started to, like, because they work for me, get into the investing space of Pokemon. And we had a couple of evolving skies ETBs in the shop, and they bought them for like, I think $160 a box, $170 a box. And then a month after that, the price shot up to over $200. And so they're just like, they're already in it, man. They're like, holy crap. Like, this is fun. And it didn't happen. It didn't take long. It took them literally a month, like less than a month, I'd probably assume, for that to happen for them. So evolving is volatile and it's moving. Like, even if it goes sideways, okay, like, who cares? It's going to keep moving at some point. Like, I'm not at a point right now with evolving where I look at it and say, I'm really super nervous about it, like, being at team up level. And that's not to say that team up, of course, is not going to continue to go up over time. It just might go stagnant for a little bit because of how much it's gone up in such a period of time. But evolving, it feels like, it's just the demand for evolving is just so high. It's so high. It literally, we kept raising the price in shop because of how fast it was selling for the packs, and we sold out. Like, we just literally could not have enough evolving skies at the price that we were selling it at, because it was just being bought up regardless.
Yeah.
And that's something you really can't put value on, is something that people will pay for regardless, because they just want it that bad.
Yeah.
Question, doesn't PC ETBs being harder to get in quantity imply the price will be higher? In theory, but like, also at the same time, the only thing that makes it harder, quote unquote, to get is that once it's out of stock on the Pokemon Center website, then all of a sudden the only way to get it is the secondary market. So that's why, it's all bets are off once it goes out of stock. But like, when it's in stock, that's obviously a completely different scenario, because it's going to be at that price forever until it's not available on the Pokemon Center website.
Yeah. I don't think that really implies the price is going to be higher.
Yeah, I agree. Do you like Paradox Rift and Temporal Forces Gimmick? I agree.
Dude, he asks this every stream.
Does he? I didn't hear this on last. I wasn't here about it on last.
And he reposts this in like other people's streams too. I've seen the same question.
Is this like a meme at this point or something? I agree with Northwoods. No one likes or asks for dinosaur versions of the legendary dogs.
Agent Crypto, I absolutely love them. I am so happy they did Paradox from Temporal Forces. Two of my most favorite gimmicks in the entire hobby. I couldn't live without them.
Personally, I wish they made them into ponies, but you know.
In all honesty, I'm one of the few people, and I've stayed true to pretty much everything I said in this hobby. Like, especially in Scarlet Violet. Like, I was on Paldean Evolve. I think it's one of the best sets in the era from the very beginning. I liked Temporal Forces in the very beginning. I'm one of the few people that like the reimagination of the Legendary Dogs. That Raging Bolt card I was on before it even became the #1 card. I actually like them. I like them. Paradox Rift cards are cool too. I love the Iron Valiant. The Roaring Moon's cool. I don't know. I'm a fan. Like, I was being obviously sarcastic before, but like, I actually am a fan of them. I think those two sets could be the Chilling Reign Fusion Strike of this era.
Not a bad comparison. I think that honestly, you could almost, yeah. What was I gonna say? Yeah, I think for me, it's obviously playing off of Scarlet and Violet, the video game, because they talked about the significance of like future and past. As a gimmick, I didn't mind the concept. I guess for me, when it comes to the art designs, I like historic a lot more than I like futuristic. I don't think it's necessarily bad, but I just don't like a lot of them as like robots. That's kind of weird to me. I like them a lot more as prehistoric. That I thought was really cool. That was one of the concepts I liked a lot about Arceus, because obviously Arceus was kind of like long ago in the Sinnoh region before, things what they were at current times. And so I think that it was something that I really enjoyed and intrigued. And obviously you also have primal forms, which is something they talked about in like Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire. So I like different form types. I like regional variants. I like different conceptual designs of certain Pokemon. And so I'm not upset at them for trying it, just on a personal level. For me, I preferred the more historic stuff than the futuristic stuff.
I'm with you, man.
Next question. Okay. Is 151 PC ETB still undervalued? It's the rarest 151 product. Is nearly the same price as the UPC. Won't it be the most wanted PC ETB? Interesting.
That's a weird comparison to the UPC. I need to see. Hold on. Let me see what that Snorlax card's worth raw. Holy crap. That Snorlax card is worth $150 raw. Yeah, I mean, the UPC has more packs, which obviously hold more value, and it does have 3 promo cards, but those promo cards are nowhere near as valuable as that Snorlax. They're just different. There's different things. Like, if every pack is worth $10 and the UPC is what, five more packs, that's an extra $50 in value right there. But then the promo card for there has more value. I mean, I think it's right now. Here's the thing with PC ETBs. You don't know which one is more scarce. You could say they may have printed less, but more UPCs could have been opened. I mean, the reason we have such an influx of all the UPC promo cards and all those play mats that are being sold everywhere is because they were opened in mass. So for a while there, I was opening them in mass because they were the cheapest way to get packs. When you factored in the price you could get for the play mat and the promo cards, they were literally the cheapest packs you could buy after the booster bundles rose up. And so, in that perspective, there could be as little 151 UPCs as there are PC ETBs left, because a lot of those may have remained sealed. So it's hard to tell in that perspective. I just think it's a weird comparison, man. I don't think it's like you need to compete between the PC ETB and the UPC. I think they're just different. I think they could perform similarly forever. I mean, there's just no.
Yeah, it's really hard to say comparing those two products because they're unique in their own way. Mason Just got to shout him out, obviously. Sealed investing is real investing. You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen.
Mason Berry, he's probably the biggest sealed investor in the world. He's very, very much in favor of sealed modern Pokemon investing, and that's what we love about him.
Yep, that's our favorite part. That, and he's just the gosh darn most handsome person I've ever met. He is a good friend and a fellow Pokemon investing fan. And
Mason, when are you coming on the channel? When are we getting Mason on the stream, man?
God, it's been a while. It has been a while, hasn't it, Mason? We'll have to set something up. I remember there was a while ago that I had reached out to him, and he said that he's busy on Tuesdays. He's usually working, and he'll put us on the background from time to time.
We just gotta, we gotta make a night. We gotta do a night stream one week.
I'm down for that. Mason, you down for a night stream one of these days? It's been a while. I'm definitely down. It's been a while. Would love to do it again. So, I mean, it would be something that I'm totally open for if you ever. I know we obviously do just you and I every single week, but I would be open to bringing someone else on at some point.
We had Rob.
We did Rob. Yeah, I was about to say we had Rob on a while ago. Dude, this is gonna sound like too much, but like I love Rob, man. Like he's one of my favorite content creators. And like I've been following him since the very beginning. And I remember when he first started his channel, I would just pump the crap out of his content because I think he is just a wealth of knowledge, especially when it comes to the space of bulk operation. I'm a huge fan of it. So you know me.
Dude, you and your bulk, man. It is a
love
a love affair, which unlike the likes I've ever seen.
Dude, there's just so much money in bulk. I like money. I like making money, and it's easy. Do you understand what's happening right now in Magic, bro? With the commander decks, it's crazy witnessing.
I don't care, man.
It's so great. You don't care about 100% returns? That's fine. My bad, bro.
Here, I'll give you a perfect example. A perfect example of this. When I had my lawn care landscaping company,
yeah,
I used to have other business owners that I knew, right, who own their own companies. And they'd always be like, dude, you got to get on the snow removal, man. Like, there's so much money. A lot of times it doesn't even snow much. You can just go salt the parking lot. You make all this, all that. I'm like, I don't care. I take from December 15th to March 1st off. I do absolutely nothing for 2.5 months. It's great. I hang out at home. I play video games. And I just don't care. And that's how I am with, like, Pokemon. It's like everyone's got these different ways of making money. I'm just like, you know what? I'm happy with what I'm doing. I don't need to have my hand in every cookie jar. I'm happy for the bulk, but I don't want to get into it, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I get it.
It's kind of like Eli with making content. He's just like, I just don't want to make content.
Oh, that was a layup. That was, yeah, you know, you set yourself up for that one.
Dude, you pulled me back in. I got to try to pull you back.
That's fair. You know, it's only
I got to do my work.
It's only reciprocal at that point. Yeah, I mean, I get it, man. It's one of the it's not for the faint of heart, right? Bulk as an operation is not for the faint of heart because it is an operation. It's not like, yo, Pokemon investing operation. It's like, no, I'm investing in Pokemon. It's like
operation.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's an operation.
You just like show a stationary shelf with things sitting on it. You're just like, check out my operation.
Yeah. Anthony Martinez, shout out to Anthony. Thanks for the $5. Good afternoon, gentlemen. With everything already gone up, if you guys had to make 2 plays for SV any set, why would you make that play?
At this point, honestly, with all the restocks we got, I think Paldea, if you can still find it somewhere like under 130, 140 around there, I still think it's a good pickup. I think it's probably reached the end of its print cycle. I doubt like Paldea SV base are going to see more booster boxes. Maybe they see more packs show up in other products. But I still like Paldea. I've always been on it. If you haven't got in yet, I think there's still time. And then probably, dude, Shrouded Fable, man.
Oh, here we go.
Dude, just hear me out, guys. Hear me out. I'm gonna blow up a play right now and see if it's still there. P Football Pete on eBay. He was, and I've fair warning. I've bought these too. He's got the booster bundles. He still has them. They're $348.88 for a case. Okay, so that's 20 bundles. Okay, 20 bundles. There's 120 packs. 120 packs. So you got $348.88 divided by 120. You're paying $290 a pack. I mean, that just seems like a extremely low risk play. Nothing but upside. And even if the set goes up a little bit, I think you can make a good percentage gain on Shrouded Fable. Even the ETB cases are like 300 still. I'm not saying it's going to be like a world beater play, but in terms of like everything being expensive and low risk, high reward plays, I mean, do you really think Shrouded Fable are not going to at least be $45, $50 ETBs in the future? I don't know. It seems prime to me.
I like the bundle. I like the booster bundle because for me, I understand it's a different set comparing it, but booster bundles have just gone up. They just do so well for specialty sets. A perfect example is Paldean Fates. There was a reprint that they did for Paldean Fates booster bundles a while ago, and Distro had them as like a bundle, and they had a lot of them that they offered to us as a program. And I picked some up for myself. And at the time, I think the market price had crashed down to like $26, $27 a unit. And right now it's going for, I think, over 50 at this point for Paldean Fates bundle. I'll have to double check, but it's like, and we were buying it, I think, for $20 a unit. So like, I want to double check this real quick just so that I can.
And guys, here, I know people are saying what Shrouded Fable. Guys, I'm not trying to say this is like some like mastermind plan and you're going to get rich off this. All I'm saying is if you're looking for a safe place to put your money and you're worried about like, reprints or like things winding down, it just seems safer than something like Surging Sparks or Twilight Masquerade or like some of these high flyer sets. Like, sure, you could argue maybe Paradox Rift is still a buy and some other things, but it's in terms of the lowest risk out there, it's one of the lowest risk plays I can think of.
Yeah, Paldean Fates is going for 50 a bundle. So it's literally like it's moved so much. I mean, if you look at the 3-month chart, it's gone up 85% in 3 months. Like that's insane. And that's at $25 and we were buying them at 20. So it's like
I know that. So
I'm not saying that obviously I'm not saying that the set is nearly as good as Paldean Fates comparing the two. Like Paldean Fates is a decent set. Shrouded's not the best set, but because of the volatility of bundles, for me, they just feel a lot safer of a pickup compared to the ETBs.
I mean, dude, I remember like just on Black Friday that Paldean Fates single packs were literally in the mid fives. They were in the mid fives plus that 10% coupon you got back. And it's like, now they're $7.50 a pack. I mean, we're talking, what is that? Like almost a 40% move?
It's moving.
Just single packs too. Like that's not even a sealed product.
Yeah. What's another one? we got asked for 2.
All right, I said Paldean Evolved. Paradox Rift.
Paradox Rift is your other one?
Or Paldean Evolved, either one.
Like the Paradox Rift boosters?
Yeah.
Man, Paradox Rift boosters. I like Paldean Evolved more than Paradox at this time, but that's just because I feel like if hypothetically speaking, both were to get reprinted, I feel a lot more confident about Paldean Evolved. Not to say one or the other is, but if it just feels safer, even at the price difference.
Yep.
Do you think Sam's Crown Zenith is the perfect item for kids for those who want to open a couple of packs because the high hit rates the kids enjoy, invest in other booster boxes and open Crown?
Crown Zenith is bar none the best set to open if you want to pull some hits.
It's a fun set.
Dude, I've opened every modern era set going back to XY. Every single set. I don't think I've ever... Generations had a ton of hits. Other than Generations, I can't think... I mean, Hidden Fates is a lot of hits. the Crown Zenith just seems like there's something different, man. You get so many hits out of that set, and the hits have so much value. It's especially right now, like you could go argue Hidden Fates or Generations, but as far as right now, price per pack, it's bar none the best set to open right now.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense to me. I mean, I'm still obviously like investing in Crown Zenith, but yes, it is a set that is super popular because kids love to open it. Kids love to get hits, and the sets that give kids the opportunity to have the most hits, they're going to open it. All right, we're going to do 3 more questions here, and then we'll wrap it up the stream. But make sure, guys, as always, leave a like, comment down below, subscribe. It really helps the YouTube channel. And then as far as it goes to Alex, check his stream out. Does them tonight. Link down.
Guys, you got to come by tonight. We got some big sets, all right? We got Cosmic Eclipse tonight. Ooh. We got some Hidden Fates. Ooh. We got some Evolving Skies. We got some heavy hitters tonight, guys. So
very nice.
Going for some big hitters.
Oh, that seems like it's going to be good. I love Cosmic.
Cosmic's the best set, dude.
But yeah, and if it isn't already sold out yet, I think at the beginning of the stream, I said we had 1 spot left for the wholesale program. So if you're interested in, don't want to make you FOMO, but yeah, it's kind of now.
It's got to be sold out by now.
After that, for anyone that joins or anyone that leaves and a spot opens, it goes to 150. But all right, next couple questions. Let's get it. Will alt arts crash when more of them get printed with each set? What?
Alt arts are not being printed anymore.
Yeah. I don't know if he's referring to SIRs as alt arts, but all I will say is this. If a set gets reprinted, and by reprinted, I mean more product comes into the market for that product, and it's a good amount, then singles will correct. Doesn't matter how it comes through. Blooming Waters will inevitably drop the price of 151 product. It's just going to happen. The set's fantastic. If you want to pick up the singles for cheap after the correction, great. I mean, we saw this with Crown Zenith. Crown Zenith is picking up now, but ultimately
there is one caveat to that. One caveat. It's what we've seen with the Magikarp when the Paldean product. So if people are waiting for so what happens is if the new product,
more of a PSA issue though.
That's my point. If the new product comes out, those Blooming Waters boxes come, and the print quality is even shittier than the first time, oh my gosh, you're gonna start seeing the graded copies of those Charizards and things go up even more. And you might actually see the singles correct and then immediately bounce back up because people are just chasing the graded copies more. And it can create kind of a new frenzy.
That will be interesting to witness. Do you think it's irresponsible to be long hold only? Why would it be irresponsible?
Everyone's situation is different, man.
I feel like you could almost make the argument the other way more so. Definitely not irresponsible because at the end of the day, this is investing. That's like saying, is it irresponsible for me to not do short-term swing trading on stocks? Like, if you're investing in stocks, most people are doing it as a long-term form of investment. They're not trying to trade it and or, sell it off and play the market. Like, people don't have time to do that.
This is the problem, dude. The problem in this hobby is, right, there's too much overlap between investing and business channels. And so people will go watch business channels. And Eli runs a business. It's like all of us run a business, but these business channels they'll play with your heartstrings. They know what they're doing. They're very manipulative with it. And they'll say things like opportunity cost, like the opportunity cost of you holding that besides flipping and flipping and flipping and flipping, you could make this much more money. It's just like, really? I make more money working than I do passively investing? Tell me more, right? Like you're telling me I make more at my job than I do on my 401k appreciation each year? Really? It's just like, it's so obvious, but it's just like, once you have enough working capital and your business is rolling and you have cash sitting there, unless you're trying to like grow more and hire employees and get crazy with it, eventually you're going to need to start investing your money long term. And that's what these are. They're for investments. So, if you're asking, is it irresponsible when you could be like, if you have time on your hands and you want to work more and give yourself a second job, then sure, buy and flip and buy and flip. But if you're asking if it's like irresponsible to like have gains and not, not realize them, not always, man. Like it's sometimes it's actually, it can be worse to sell off and move into new products all the time. Cause then it's like, you're constantly trying to predict which one's going to do better. And all of a sudden you sold Fusion Strike at 200. Now it's 300 and the product you bought is still sitting stagnant. So I don't know. I'm not on board with that.
I mean, it's a time cost analysis is how I like to always put it. You have to just say, hey, how much do I value my time? And for me, is it worth my time to go through the process of doing this? Because obviously talking about it through the lens of a business owner, it's my business. So it makes sense for me to do certain things, but that doesn't change the fact that I still have product that I'm sitting on and I'm holding and I'm not selling. And sure, in certain instances, it'll make sense for me to sell it. But most of the time, it has less to do with the fact that it's because I'm a business and more to do with just personal things that I'm dealing with within my own life, where I want to afford a down payment for a home. And so it'd be nice to have some money and liquidity here. But like once I'm past that point in my life, a large portion of my, investment is going to be held long-term, because for me, I'd much rather be making passive income, not having to worry about it, than try and deal with the constant, should I be paying attention to this investment because I want to get into this investment? Should I liquidate here and there? Especially too, when it's also even harder compared to stocks, where stocks you can sell typically at the click of a button. Whereas this, you're going to have to ship the product. You're going to have to sell it locally. You're going to have to put in a lot more effort, especially as your value or collection size and / investment size continues to grow. So,
and it's like, where does it end? Like, it's like people get on this like opportunity cost bandwagon, and it's just almost like an excuse for them to sell, right? Because it's like, where does it end? Like, well, why don't you go refinance your home and take all your equity out? I mean, that money is obviously not making you as much as you could make flipping Pokemon cards. Like, why do you have stock market investments at all? Why do you have a 401k? Obviously, you could make more than that 401k, even with the tax advantages it has. Flipping Pokemon, if you're truly making 100, 200, 300% a year doing so, it's just like, where does it end? Do you just constantly have no money anywhere else except like in your flipping business? And then it's like, for me, it's just like, what about when you literally are at the end of your wits, you have no time left, you have more than enough capital in the bank for your cash and then buy and sell things, and you have money is sitting there doing nothing. Eventually you need to invest it somewhere. And so the problem is people get wrapped up in their head, and they see Pokemon product because they're in the business, and they see it. They're like, oh my God, I have to flip that. Where it's just like, they're okay investing in stocks because it's out of sight, out of mind, but they're not okay investing in Pokemon because they see it all as flippable. And it's like, you got to get out of that mindset and understand that it's just as much as an investment as real estate or stocks or anything else, and treat it that way.
Last question, Alex. Actually, second last question. Should I sell my kidney to buy a 151 PC ETB? Magic 8-ball question. Choice. We got to do it. We haven't had a Magic 8-ball question. Get it, Alex.
Well, if you've already sold enough blood and plasma and that doesn't pay for it, I guess the kidney may be the next thing to go. I mean, because we got to buy it. Like, you can't just not buy it. You need to buy it. So we have to figure out a way to do that.
I mean, here's basically how I approach Pokemon investing. I have a list of all my organs that are disposable, and I go through in order which I think are the most expendable for me to invest in Evolving Skies product. And then from there, I just make these plays. So I guess really the question you have to ask yourself is, I think 100%, if I'm going to pick up Evolving, it's worth selling my organs. Do you think 151 is an organ selling product to invest in, Alex? That's the real question here we need to ask.
An organ selling? Oh, man, here's what I think, man. I think you should just go get, you have to have some free time on your hands if you're in here typing. I think you should just get a second job and pay for it that way and keep your kidneys.
But it's so much harder work, Alex.
You gotta grind. You gotta get out there and grind.
Whatever, man. Way to be lazy. So let me sell my kidney. Real question. You said you're not convinced about ETBs, even Pokemon Center ETBs, due to the lack of data. What's your strategy with specialty sets? How much percentage in booster bundles in ETBs? I think this is more directed towards you.
I'm not a booster bundle fan. I'm much more of a fan of, ETB or PC ETBs and UPCs as items. I know everyone loves booster bundles. Like, I don't know. I'm not. Here's the thing. Everything's price point. The price point makes sense. Great. Like they do with the Shrouded Fable right now. But like if everything's at its like distro pricing, I'm not as much of a fan of booster bundles as I am other things. But how much percentage is in booster bundles and ETBs? I have very little percent in specialty sets. Mostly everything I have is in booster boxes. So I very little limited gift. Like, I don't know. Very low single digit percents is what I have in specialty set ETBs or bundles.
Dude, people in the comments are saying you have to consider selling the kidney opportunity cost.
Dude, I'm telling you, like Eli, like
so
you don't watch a lot of content.
Like
dude, you don't watch a lot, I know, but like, dude, that term is thrown around so much.
Opportunity cost?
Yeah, and what's funny is it's always used in such a manipulative, bad way, in my opinion. It's comparing working. Like, guys, if you haven't done this before, it is work to try to buy and sell products. You are taking time away from other things you can do in your life, your friends, your family, your other hobbies, and you are working on a business. That cannot be compared to literally clicking a button, getting the product, setting it on a shelf, and kicking your feet up and doing nothing. And whenever people compare those two things and say the opportunity cost, it's the craziest thing, because what about the opportunity cost of your time? What could you be doing with your time in the same time it takes you to flip Pokemon? Again, go spend that time getting a promotion at your job, getting a better job, starting a small business. Like, I think you'll still outperform the working on the Pokemon business and just investing than you would like trying to churn and burn your investments into flipping Pokemon. It's just the craziest take I've ever heard.
I mean, that's my
opinion.
Here's my thing, Alex. I've never drank before. Like, I just don't drink. Never been buzzed my entire life. And
me either, actually.
And the reason for it is because of opportunity cost. Because I knew that when it came time for me to sell my kidneys, I wanted to command a premium on the market for my kidneys. So
damn,
I had to
never
make
thought
sure
of that. Your liver too.
In PSA 10 condition. So just think about these things, guys. You got to think about these things. I know you're not as old and wise as I am, but like when I was 7, I thought about these things. I knew.
Yeah, but what Roach Time says, you can't just click a button and sell a kidney.
Oh, but that's the thing, man. I factored this all into the opportunity cost now. Like, you don't got to worry about it, man. It's all good.
Opportunity cost, baby.
To answer the question, for what Limited Gift said, I guess I know this is more geared towards you, but I'll still kind of comment on it. I mean, I don't know, actually, because I obviously have a slightly different opinion on you when it comes to the strategy of this, but I'll still at least say from a percentage perspective how much I'm holding of specialty product. I am someone that will hold on to a handful of cases, but it's like, it's not a lot. It's not a lot. Because I feel so much safer holding on to booster boxes than ETBs, because the probability is so much higher for ETBs to get reprinted. It obviously will vary based off of the set itself. Like Prismatic is one that obviously, I feel a lot more confidence in. Same with 151. So I held more of that. But it's like, it's not like I was holding Shrouded, right? But I was still holding Stellar and Paradox and Temporal, regardless of people's opinions. But Shrouded, I just don't want to touch with a 10-foot pole. Maybe it's because the set itself is bad and it's also a specialty set. It's hard to really say because it's case by case for me, But also, once again, going back to it, it also becomes a lot bigger of a problem with storage.
Well, dude, here's the thing. We're both working, right? We're both working our businesses, right? So here's, you guys want to talk about opportunity cost? Me and Eli both have products sitting there gaining value, okay? While we're using our free time to work on the business, okay? So your opportunity cost that you're like trying to like sell your investments, you're having to like go in, sell that stuff, find new stuff to buy, sell that, doing all that while it's like my investments are growing in value, and I'm using my time that you're now using trying to sell off your investments. I'm using my time making money too. So now I have two sources of income, investment appreciation and work, while you're just trying to work, moving your investments around for opportunity cost. It's bananas, dude.
Yeah. Things to consider, man.
Let your investments grow, work for your income. You'll be better off.
Anything else you want to say here, Alex, before we wrap it up?
Next week, dude, we're
we should probably mention that. Next week, guys, it's going to be Christmas. So as far as it goes, man, we're going to be taking the day off. So it will not be something that we'll be doing on Christmas Eve. So apologies. Hopefully you guys obviously understand, but we will be just one day taking it off, spend time for the holidays with friends and family and so on. And for me, it will be playing catch up on all of my employees that took the day off. So, because
Eli's just going to be sitting in his room watching his bulk machines work for him.
Hey, they're not in my room. They're at the store. But yeah, no. We won't be streaming next week, so we'll be taking it off. Hopefully everyone has a wonderful Christmas week. Hopefully you guys all get to spend time with your family. Take a break, man. Please don't message me on Christmas. Like, I appreciate it. Bro, people message me on Thanksgiving. I don't want to get into it. But anyway, but yeah, anything else you want to say before we wrap up? Or is that it?
No, man, it's a good combo. Appreciate you guys being here. Hope everyone has a Merry Christmas, and we'll be back the week after. Appreciate all the support for the podcast.
Yeah, thank you guys. As always, can't thank you enough, but we're grateful. Another year in the books, baby, and we will all talk to you later. Peace.